Most revenge stories happen fast. Someone is wronged. Someone is angry. Something happens, a confrontation, a message, a public scene. The whole thing is over in days. Weeks, maybe. This is not that kind of story. This is a story about 7 years. About what a person can build quietly and without anyone noticing when they decide that patience is not weakness. It is the strategy itself. Her name is Diane. She was 34 years old when the thing happened that started this story. She was 41 when she finished it. 7 years. Not one day wasted. Diane had spent 6 years building a marketing consultancy from nothing. She had started alone at a kitchen table with 2 clients and a business plan she had rewritten 11 times. By year 3, she had a team of 8. By year 5, she had offices, a client list that included 3 national brands, and revenue that had grown every single quarter without exception. Her business partner was a man named Gregory Ashton. Gregory had come in at year 2, when Diane needed capital and he had it. He was charming, connected, and, as she would eventually discover, meticulous about protecting his own interests at the expense of everyone else's. The partnership agreement had been drafted by Gregory's solicitor. Diane had read it. She had even flagged 2 clauses she was uncomfortable with. Gregory had explained them away as standard protective language, and she, trusting him, believing in the partnership, had signed. This is the moment, the one that 7 years of everything else traces back to. Not the betrayal itself, the moment before it when a person trusts someone they shouldn't and signs something they shouldn't and tells themselves it will be fine because it has been fine so far. In year 6, Gregory exercised a clause in that agreement. A clause that, under specific financial conditions that he had engineered over the previous 8 months, gave him the right to acquire Diane's majority stake at a valuation she had no power to challenge. She came in on a Monday morning. There was a letter on her desk. Her name was no longer on the company. Diane spent the first 3 months after losing the company doing what anyone in her position would do. She found a lawyer. She explained the situation. She asked if there was a case. The lawyer reviewed the partnership agreement and told her the clause was aggressive, possibly unconscionable, but almost certainly enforceable. The agreement, as drafted, is not in your favor. You would be fighting uphill against a contract you signed. She found a second lawyer. She got a second opinion. My assessment is similar. The financial engineering he used was predatory, but not necessarily illegal. You might win a partial settlement. You would not recover the business. She found a third. Ms. Hargreaves, I understand your position, but I want to be honest with you. This case would be expensive, lengthy, and uncertain. The risk-reward does not favor proceeding. She thanked all 3 of them. She did not hire any of them. Instead, she went home. She sat at the same kitchen table where she had written that first business plan 7 years earlier. And she made a decision. Fine, I won't fight you for what you took. I'll build something you can't take. And then she started. Diane did not disappear. She did not move city, change career, or spend a year processing her feelings. She gave herself exactly 3 weeks. And then she went back to work. Year 2, she registered a new consultancy. Smaller than the first. Deliberately so. She took no outside capital. No partners. No co-signatories on anything. Every document was reviewed by a commercial lawyer she had chosen herself. Not the cheapest option, and not the most prominent. The one whose contract terms were, in her words, airtight in every direction. She spent year 2 doing 2 things simultaneously. Building the new business, brick by brick, and studying, quietly, every piece of publicly available information about Gregory Ashton's business activities. This is the part people underestimate. She was not plotting revenge in the theatrical sense. She was acquiring information, understanding the landscape, learning where his vulnerabilities were, not to exploit them immediately, but to understand when and whether an opportunity would arise. Patient intelligence gathering, conducted over years while appearing to do nothing of the kind. Year 3, the new consultancy turned profitable. She began approaching former clients, carefully, without disparaging Gregory or the old company. She let the quality of the work speak. 3 of her original clients returned to her within 18 months. Year 4, she met with a financial advisor and began a specific investment strategy. Not aggressive, not speculative, precisely targeted toward acquiring a minority stake in a company that she had identified through her research as strategically important to Gregory's current portfolio. I'm not trying to hurt him yet. I'm trying to get close enough that when the moment comes, I'm already in the room. Year 5, she was in the room. Year 6, she identified the moment. Gregory had overextended. 3 acquisitions in 18 months, financed partly by leveraging the original company, her company, as collateral. The market had tightened. His cash flow was under pressure. He needed investment. He was looking for it. Diane did not approach him. She approached the company he was trying to sell a stake in, and she made them an offer. The company Gregory was trying to sell a stake in was called Verimark Solutions, a mid-sized data analytics firm. Not famous, not listed, but strategically positioned. It held contracts with several of Gregory's largest clients, and a substantial portion of his future revenue depended on those contracts being renewed. Gregory needed Verimark to remain friendly. He needed to maintain influence within it. He was negotiating a deal that would give him a seat on the board and, with it, effective oversight of those contract renewals. Diane's offer to Verimark's existing shareholders was simple: a higher price, better terms, and a specific governance condition: 1 seat on the advisory board, with a veto right on strategic partnerships involving any party with whom advisory board members had a prior conflict of interest. That governance condition, that single clause, 7 years in the making, because Diane knew from 6 years of watching and 4 years of positioning that if she could insert that clause into Verimark's shareholder agreement before Gregory completed his deal, he could not sit on the board. His history with her constituted exactly the kind of prior conflict the clause was designed to catch. Verimark's shareholders accepted her offer. The governance condition was ratified. Gregory's deal fell through. He was not invited to join the board. Without that board seat, the contract renewals he had been counting on were renegotiated, on terms he could not influence. 3 of his largest clients were approached by Diane's consultancy in the following quarter. 2 of them moved. Gregory did not understand immediately. Business deals fall through. Clients move. These things happen. It took him approximately 4 months to trace the shape of what had occurred, to notice that the person who had acquired the Verimark stake was Diane Hargreaves, that the governance clause she had insisted on was precisely, specifically, surgically designed to apply to him, that the clients who had moved were ones she had originally brought into the business he had taken from her. He called her. "Diane, I think we should talk. I think we're past talking, Gregory." She did not hang up angrily. She simply ended the call. She's been planning this. Not for months. For years. Every piece of it was deliberate. The investment, the stake, the clause. She built the trap before I even knew she was building anything. He was right. Every piece of it was deliberate. Diane's consultancy is now, by most measures, larger than the company Gregory took from her. It operates in 4 markets. It has no outside investors, no partners, no clauses she didn't write or approve herself. Gregory's portfolio has contracted significantly. The loss of the Verimark position and the client departures created a cash flow problem that compounded over the following 18 months. He has restructured twice. He still operates, but on a considerably reduced scale. When I spoke to Diane, I asked her the question everyone wants to ask in stories like this. Was it worth it? 7 years of patience. 7 years of building toward a single move, while other people moved faster and louder around her. I don't think about it in terms of worth. I think about it in terms of what I wanted. I wanted to build something he couldn't take. I wanted to prove to myself that what he took wasn't the thing that mattered, that the thing that mattered was the capacity to build it in the first place. The move at the end was satisfying. I won't pretend otherwise, but it was never the point. It was just the proof. She paused for a moment. Then she said one more thing. He took the company. He couldn't take what built it. She was right. There's a version of this story where Diane fights immediately, where she takes the most aggressive lawyer, files the lawsuit, and spends 2 years and significant money in litigation that she probably loses. That version exists. A lot of people live it. It is not wrong. Sometimes it works. But there is another version, the one Diane chose, where the fight is not a confrontation. It is a construction, where every year of apparent inaction is actually a year of building the ground on which the decisive moment will eventually stand. 7 years is a long time to hold something without letting it consume you. To wake up every day and do the next thing. Not in anger, not in obsession, but in the calm certainty that the work is the answer. Diane told me she was never particularly angry after the first year. The anger was there. She felt it. She sat with it. She let it do what anger does. And then she set it down. Not because she had forgiven Gregory, but because carrying it would have slowed her down. She described it as converting anger into fuel, and then, once the fuel was doing its work, she no longer needed to think about the fire. He took the company. He could not take the person who had built it. That distinction, it turns out, was the whole game. If this story stayed with you, there are more below. And if you're in year one of something that looks like it might take 7, start the notebook. Date everything. Trust the work.